well, so this was thanks to him for bringing this and sharing this out with you, but it says, in the School of Motion Design Industry Survey, freelancers reported that word of mouth is overwhelmingly the most common way that they find work. So that's why it's important to, like Sydney said, to take some of those smaller opportunities or reach out and maybe, partner with somebody or create something for someplace that doesn't have that kind of work, because again, you never know who they will recommend you to. So it says over 5 times as many responses as the most popular sources of work, which were actually Instagram and Facebook. So that's kind of good for you guys to know. Are you guys have Facebook accounts too?
Yes.
Yeah, so apparently that's used in this industry as well. I know you think it's just for old people like us, but.
Well, it's the old people that are going to be hiring you, at least for a while, until they're retired.
So, yeah.
I think a piece of that too is to realize that not always, but often, people that are looking to hire someone, first and foremost, are going to look for somebody that's decent at what they do and dependable. And so you might have somebody that's like a genius animator, but is horrible to work with. They will very quickly get a reputation where they're like, you know what, their animation is technically top-notch, beautiful, but they're late, they're hard to work with, they don't have a great personality, and in the world of work, when things have deadlines and need to get done, often they go, who's the person that's easy to work with, that turns it in on time, that hits the basic benchmarks? That goes a long way to getting work. Just like being easy to work with, turning things on time, and being a decent human being. Those are that builds your reputation sometimes more than the work itself, and hopefully the work will follow as well. But there shouldn't be this feeling of like, oh, there's all these amazing people out there, and it's like often they're like, okay, who's going to get it in on time, because we've got a deadline and it needs to be done. I want to talk a little bit about first jobs, part-time work, freelancing. One of the things that you might be thinking about is, am I going to have work in the industry, whatever that might be broadly? Am I going to do any work adjacent or even outside of the industry part-time? And these are all choices that you need to make individually. When you're thinking about the mix of your work to start, especially in those first few years, you want to think through both where you're going, but also the practical aspects of now. For a lot of people, it's, I need a paycheck now. And so when you're thinking about that mix of, am I looking for a couple of part-time gigs? Am I looking for a full-time position? Am I looking to just try to start freelancing right away? Part of this comes down to your own personality, your own temperament, your own preferences. You might have a bit of an instinct to say, I'm ready to jump out there and figure things out. There might be part of you that's like, I need something that's stable. And that's different for everybody, at least for now. When you're thinking about that mix, especially if you're doing work that isn't the core work that you're wanting to go towards, so whether it's in the industry, adjacent, or even outside the industry, it should do one of 3 things, if not more. 1, that job offers you more time. So you're doing a job that gives you time to continue to pursue your other work. It gives you more resources, so money, so it's high paying. And that those resources give you the things you need to pursue your work. And third and most common is it gives you additional skills that are getting you towards where you're going. And this is what I've been sort of saying in different ways, is sometimes you do a job that you're like, well, this isn't exactly where I'm going, but it's giving me a lot of skills that I can fold into the mix to continue to get me where I'm going. You also want to think about, at first, you want to try a lot of different things. Say yes to a lot of different things. And then very quickly figure out how to start to say no. So it's a balance. You say yes to everything when you start, and then very quickly you start to say, you know what? That opportunity that was just presented to me isn't worth my time. I've been there, done that. I've learned what I need to learn. And so you get to a point where you start to be more discerning with saying, no, that's not for me. No, that's not for me. So that you do have the time and capacity for the things that are going to continue to move you forward. So start out by saying yes to everything, but then very quickly start to say no to things. so that you can spend the time where you want. And then the third thing I'll say, which is, I think we all know it, we try to do it, but it's an ongoing process throughout your life and career, are building good habits. So when is your creative peak? Is it 10 o'clock in the morning? Is it 6 o'clock at night? Is it midnight? This might change and evolve with time and age and other factors. It might change and evolve depending on if you your life circumstances change. You get married, you have a partner, you're thinking about kids. I mean, some of these things might seem farther down the road, but when are your creative peak hours? And so when you're thinking about choices like, I do have this part-time work that gives me some financial stability to continue to pursue other projects and things, is it interfering with my peak creative time? If so, maybe I need to think about adjusting or looking at something different. So thinking holistically about these choices that you're making and how they're feeding your ultimate ongoing journey and process. Often getting it done is better than perfect. When you look at really successful, really anybody, but especially in creative industries, they just keep making, they keep doing. And so it's a lot of just okay work, but not necessarily genius work, because it's all that process of just making and doing. So getting it done is often better than great, because if we're waiting for it to be amazing and perfect, then it's always going to be on the back burner. And especially when it comes to things like building your portfolio, I know I've seen this at artists for every stage of their career, from in school to right out of school to 10 or 20 years down the line. They're like, well, I haven't built my website yet because I'm waiting for my work to really be ready. I'm waiting for it to be ready. And the honest answer is, it's always going to be evolving, and you're always going to be very self-critical of your own work. So don't wait to build your online portfolio. Build it now, and know that in 3 months you're going to change it. In a month you're going to change it again. I mean, online presence at this point is constantly going to be changing. You're going to be constantly evolving your portfolio, your work, your brand, the messaging that you put on there. What it says this month is going to be different next month. So there's no reason to wait. Just start to put it out there. And the other thing is, start small. We often think about, well, I need to do all of these things right now all at once. If you're intimidated about starting your online presence, whether that's on social media, building a website, just pick one little small goal and tackle that first. And then you can build on that and add on to it. So instead of this mentality of, well, I need to wait for everything to be ready and then I'll just sort of launch it, just say, you know what, maybe I wanted to start a simple TikTok page and just start to, once a month, post a little clip and just get that going and see what happens, start to get feedback.
How do you feel about volunteering to gain experience?
I'm not against it.
Mm-hmm.
Up to a point. I think that's where if you volunteer and you go, wow, I really got some stuff out of that, great. There will come a point where you will be able to say, oh, that particular opportunity is not going to be very useful for me, and now I'm at a place where I'm going to start to say no. One of the things I think in terms of setting your own boundaries is being clear with the people that you're working with to say, I'm doing this for free this time because I'm gaining experience. And that might be different in the future. And so there's a clear expectation of that's the truth now, but that might not be the truth next month or next year. You know, they might come back, because people will continue to come back and say, hey, you did this before, can you do it again? But, you know, as long as you're clear through that process, then you can say, well, I'm at a different place, you know, here's my rate, or here's where I'm at, can we talk about it, negotiate? And I will say that can seem scary,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of transparency, but really, within a professional environment, it really, it sets you up as a professional.
Mm-hmm.
That people say, oh, you're straightforward, you're clear, this is where I'm at, and this is what it is, and then decisions can be made both ways.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so we are at 5 of 2. I know that's kind of, almost at the end of time, right? Probably a lot of you have class in 5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
well, thank you for coming.
Grab the resources as you leave. This is a chapter from this book. I highly recommend it. It's all about animation and motion in terms of practical details of working, job roles, expected pay, how to find work. So there's this one. And then there's also this part in the back that I included, which is just a giant, it's also from this book. This, I think, is the best book for anybody working commercially in creative industries, whether that's illustration, animation, graphic design. This is the best book. I will say it can be overwhelming. And even these two handouts, you're going to look at them and you're going to be like, I don't know what to do with this. When you look at this resources, it says recommended books, but it has all different stuff in here. When you look at this, the way you use this is you sit down and you say, I'm going to spend a half an hour and I'm going to pick like 5 things to look at. And you're going to research those, and then you're going to be like, that was interesting, that was useless, this is something I want to look more at, and then you put it away. And then maybe you come back another day and you go, let me look at a few more. If you try to look at everything in here all at once, you're going to be overwhelmed and never use this. So this is a tool to deepen your own research, set aside time, and be intentional with how you use these resources.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks everybody for coming out. Yes. Yeah, big thank you for our guest speakers. Yes.
Hopefully you guys found some good stuff to take away from our presentation.